A data center houses rows of computers and equipment for storing, processing, and transmitting data.
Data center market is experiencing unprecedented growth. There are more than 150 of them in Metro Atlanta, and more are coming online.
Contract agreement could double the revenue the utility system hands over to the city.
That's a game changer.
The technology that helps power our modern world, but it takes a lot of resources to get it done.
Water is a finite resource. They are hugely resource intensive.
Constant protest over energy and water use.
Right now, Georgia exempts data center equipment from state sales tax.
Concern is dealing with the impact on our residents as it relates to the utilities. Does that cost get passed on to our residents?
My main concern is the environment.
Hey, welcome everybody. Good to see you again tonight. As y'all guys can see, I am back, Sean Harris, with my other two great Americans that's fighting every day to go to DC and represent you and listen to you. You know, what we're talking about tonight is data centers again. This is our third episode. That's saying that, guess what? We're not just playing with this. We're actually taking the time to think through all these things, listening to you. And as we get additional information, we pass it on, but we also can give you some updates tonight. And at the end of the day, I want to have a conversation, or we want to have a conversation with everybody throughout all of our districts, really northern Georgia. I almost said Northwest Georgia because that's a habit, but northern Georgia. But before we actually get into everything, I want to make sure that I give an opportunity for my colleagues to actually introduce themselves, tell you where they stand or what district they're running in, and then we'll come back around and we'll start talking about what is currently going on in northern Georgia when it comes to data centers. Mara, you have the floor.
Thank you, Sean. So I'm Mara Keller. I'm a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and a former healthcare worker at the Atlanta VA, and I'm running for Congress in Georgia's 3rd District. Now I've got 15 counties that I have, and I will tell you we have quite a few data centers that are in my district. The last count is I'm somewhere in the 40s between actually being here, those that are in the works, and those that are projected. So this has been a very nonpartisan issue, in talking to the people of this district. My platform before the data centers, what had always been about, the affordability of what's happening. We've got a lot of people that are still at or below the poverty level in my area. And the healthcare that nobody seems to be able to afford anymore. So everything comes down to money. So in 2024, data centers wasn't there, but in 2025, that has become such a main issue. Now, my guy that I'm running against is Congressman Brian Jack. He is very quiet about this. But when you look at who endorses him, which is Leading the Future PAC, which is pro data center, when you look at data centers in Coweta County, and one of the data centers have been giving him money to his campaign, that tells you exactly what you need to know on where he stands. So any information about me, you can go to marakeller.com. So thanks, Sean.
Chris, you got it.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks, Mara and Sean, for having me yet again for our third episode here. My name is Chris Harden. I am your next candidate or your next congressman for the CD11. The CD11 is right there in between both Mara and Sean's district. It covers Marietta, Kennesaw, Woodstock, Canton, all of Bartow, all of Gordon, and all of Pickens. I'm a public defender by trade. I represent parents in defects cases. I grew up in a trailer park in Sean's district, I was just up there recently, and my wife and I, we own a estate planning and probate firm right here in Woodstock, Georgia, where we're raising our 5-year-old triplets. And I've been all over the district here lately, talking about data centers, and my opponent, he's been kind of quiet on everything, especially data centers. But it's my understanding that he's also possibly getting money from some PACs that are supporting data centers. And more importantly, as a Southerner, it offends me that he's been quiet on dollar. So we're out there, we're talking about it, and we taking a stance. It'd be interesting to see what his stance is.
Outstanding, Chris. Thank you for the introduction. So, guys, let me tell you quickly. Tonight, I'm your moderator, but I'm also still a candidate, still fighting every day out here in the 14th. The 14th, what I call it is the 14th is motivated, and more motivated. We just finished doing a massive swing through the entire district with our next governor, Keisha Lance Bottom. And that was just awesome. We just finished doing it up this Saturday. But when you look at my district or look at what I stand for, is this. I'm fighting for the individual person, your kids, and your grandkids. That is who my boss is. What I will tell you about my opponent, Clay Fuller. Clay Fuller actually sold his soul to Donald Trump. And he has clearly proved it now, because Clay Fuller has not said one word about these data centers, because President Trump came out and told us all that we all need to have a data center in our backyard, and any community that don't support it is just dumb. Then Clay, just in the last few days, as you know, I'm a cattle farmer. My district, the greatest or the largest income that comes through our district, the number one business in our district is agriculture. It's cattle farmers, poultry farmers, and then we get into row crop. But in the last few days, the president of the United States said that he was going to drop a unbelievable amount of foreign beef hamburger here into the United States. And that is running down the price of beef that we sell as great Americans, as cattle ranchers and farmers. That's something I know. I live it, and it was already starting to see it. And just so happened today, I sold 3 steers and actually lost money on it, because everything that happens in the cattle industry is based on futures out of Chicago. And guess what? I've been on the news talking about it. I've been everywhere talking about it. I even did a video just myself out in the pasture this past Saturday that went viral. But the reason why I bring this up to you is this reason. With all the cattlemen and farmers in our district, Clay Fuller has not said one word about this issue. So I want to make it clear to everybody that's out there listening, especially inside the 14th. Clay Fuller says that he's a fighter. He's not a fighter because he only answers to one person, and that's Donald Trump. And because he answers to Donald Trump, he cannot do anything for us here in the northern and northwest Georgia. So I ask for your vote. I look forward to having a discussion about data centers, because where I have been on the front lines, from Paulding to Floyd to Polk, you name it, I've actually been out with you protesting, going to meetings, trying to get things turned around, get a pause on these things. And I'm happy to say we got some pauses, but to get a pause on some of these things, Clay Fuller's been hiding in the shadows. And so it's going to be clear here come November, 69 days from the time that I'm talking to you right now, we will have a choice to send Clay Fuller and everybody else from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket out of their positions and get Democrats from top to bottom. So I'm excited about talking to you tonight. If you look at the QR code there, that's a QR code, because I will tell you plain, every last one of our campaigns need money to actually be able to do all the things that we need to do in these last 60 plus days. So I ask you in advance. I know money's tight. I know the affordability is issues. gas issue, all those kind of things. But if you can give something, please give it. And the three of us are going to split it between our campaigns. Those will help us buy some more additional signs, help us buy some more lit to knock on, to put on doors. And even if we can raise enough money, we can actually buy some commercials in those last days that can actually to influence. Because right now, the Republicans are outspending us, because guess what? When it comes to these data centers and it comes to all these other things that are going on, the Republicans are in corporate America is in the pockets of these Republicans. And that's why they don't have to come talk to you and do stuff like this, because their money's coming from somewhere else. So they don't have to answer to you. So with that being said, I'm glad to say that we already got about 150 people on watching. That's just awesome. And now we're going to go back around and actually start talking about giving kind of like updates, what's going on in our particular district. And again, Mara, I'll kick it to you first.
Thanks, Sean. So yesterday I was in Coweta County and we had a discussion with the commission, and they were voting on another data center, which is called Project Oak. And at the end of the night, it did get voted down 5-0, which is great. We still have within my district, especially in the small rural areas. I've got, I think, Moreland, we've got Grantville or Hogansville. We have mayors that are pushing for data centers, and we're still showing up at those meetings and saying, not no, but hell no, not in our backyard. And like we keep saying, it's not that we're against the data centers, but we're against it being up to our homes, up to our schools, up to nursing homes. There's a place that they belong, and that is in those heavy industrial areas. And the reason they don't go there is because they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the power lines. They don't have the water. But in your backyard, they have everything that they need. So right now, I continue to show up at all these commission and council meetings. And if I say this to anybody, you don't have to attend everything. If you could find a group of people, and every month, one of you keep on going to these meetings and then being the voice back to others, all those local decisions are being made at the zoning meetings, the commission, and the council. And a lot of times they're kind of quiet, or how they advertise it. So some people will look at it and say, well, that doesn't say anything about a data center, when in reality it does. So keep your eyes open, show up, because that is where the rubber meets the road. Because when you start getting to the point where you're voting on it, sometimes it's, at these higher level meetings, this is like farther down the road, and it's kind of hard to put the brakes on then.
Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. All right, Chris, tell us what's going on in your side of the northern Georgia.
Man, they're getting rowdy over these data centers. We'll start with Cherokee County. We did a town hall, for lack of a better, at the R.T. Jones Library, and it was standing room only. Matter of fact, the Cherokee County Commissioner, Chairman Harry Johnston, came out and addressed everyone, and I liked a lot of what he had to say. He was saying that him and the commissioners they're against data centers. They're not really interested, is really what he was saying. And he seemed to hold true to that, because I think it was the next night they had a board meeting, and yet again, all of Cherokee County showed up, and they voted for a moratorium. And so they held to that. And he's got a lot of concerns, and a lot of people have concerns of data centers coming into Cherokee County, mainly because of just they don't really have the land for it. Like something like Bartow might be a better place for it, but he held true to it, and that was cool. And then then there was a lot of rowdiness in Marietta recently. They voted for a moratorium, but then they went ahead and approved an application 5-2 for a data center. And the way that they said that was because the application came in before the moratorium went in place. And so, those legal technicalities, they may play well in a court, but as far as the court of public opinion, I think they're going to have a lot to answer for in November. The people of Marietta and Cobb County are not very happy with that decision. And, I don't know exactly what kind of contract that they got the county committed to, but I know that, the people of Marietta and Cobb County are just not happy. And same with the Board of Education. They're getting rowdy in Marietta. I'm digging it. A lot of people nobody's just sitting on the couch anymore. You're knowing what people are feeling. And right now, data centers are not it. Same with flock cameras. Starting to get that way in Bartow County. I think in the past, I said Bartow County has been more open to data centers. And I still think that's probably true, mainly because, Bartow County does have a lot of industrial, factories in that county, and it may have more, accessibility for data centers. But yet again, I think, the lack of transparency and just the unknown of what, these data centers are really going to do to the environment and the health in these communities has got a lot of people saying, we don't really want data centers as our neighbors. So, it's what we're hearing all over. And I'm like I said, the flock cameras is starting to heat up too, because just like the data centers, we're starting to get an infestation of flock cameras. And though that's more around the privacy stuff, but the data centers is where they'll be storing the footage from those cameras. So it's interesting to see how this is playing out. It seems like when I'm going to these things, my neighbors, my constituents, it seems to be bipartisan, that nobody really wants these things. But then when you start looking at, the national news, it seems like, it's starting to become something of a political wedge between us. So it's going to be interesting to see if they stick with that through the midterm.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Chris. This is not what I see on the ground when I'm actually out there at the protests or actually at the different meetings. I just think I just say for everybody out there, I want to just give a shout out to no data center organizations, no matter where you're at or what variation of that name. The reality of it is I have seen nothing but great work from the grassroots level. And when I talk to the people, they tell me, hey, Sean, I'm a Democrat. Then the person standing right beside is a Republican. The person standing over here is an independent. Or some people say, hey, I never voted before, but I do not want a data center in my backyard. So that's what I'm seeing is these are issues that cut across every line that you can come up with. And we're the only ones that are listening to the people. And when I say listening to the people, at the end of the day, originally what we said in our very first show is we wanted to listen. And from listening to the people, I think every last one of us have said, and our actions have showed it, is that, hey, we're standing right there with you when the cameras are not on. We're there saying, hey, I'm at the meeting that they're not even going to talk about data centers. They're not even going to say one word about it, but you get to the end and you get the open comments, and the next thing you know, it's 50 people going up talking about data centers. So that is what we're doing. And let me just give y'all guys a quick little update what's happening in the 14th so that we can actually get around and hear from our friends that are actually online. And I want to tell everybody that's actually online, thank you for all your support. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for all your support for giving our campaign some money. But I also want to say this. If your community decides that they want a data center, that's okay. I just want to make sure the local community have the guardrails from the federal and the state in place so that when you're making decisions, you can ensure that it's not going to have great effect on your kids, your grandkids, and future generations down the road. And that's why I'm actually asking for the pause. And I'm happy to say in many places in our district in the 14th, we have that pause, or we have already had a pause and now things are about to expire. But from that, the leaders in those local communities have put some guardrails in place for themselves. And I'm just happy to announce these things. I'm gonna go through them just real quick. Floyd County, one of the things that's going on with Floyd County is you see there on the screen, Floyd County has been doing a lot. Here this coming Friday, their moratorium is going to expire. But the cool thing is their leadership, the local leadership, is put things in place that says, look, if we're going to have a data center, that thing got to be at least 600 feet, stand back from any facility or houses or anything of that nature. On top of that, it has to be a closed water loop. So a lot of the things that we've been talking about, the local leaders have been listening, and I'm glad to see that they put these things in place. What I also would say, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I was actually in Floyd County, kind of doing what I'm doing tonight, but we did it live. And we actually had Peter from the PSC there, and all of those candidates from the PSC there. But we also had the local candidates from Floyd County, and we basically did this, but we did it live at a facility so that the local community could actually ask us questions, and the people loved it. And I'm so proud to see that Floyd County seemed like they're moving in the right direction. The key piece we need to all be thinking about is some of these moratoriums, or what I call pauses, they may expire right after the election. So let's don't drink the Kool-Aid and think that somebody's going to do the right thing on the back end. It may just be moving the ball down the road a little bit to get past the midterms so that they can keep their job and then come back and revisit this issue. So completely think through that. Just real quickly, Walker County, your moratorium, you put out a 180-day moratorium. That's going to expire February 2nd, 2027. The cool thing, what I like about what Walker County has done, they have put together a committee to study this situation and put some guardrails in place. And on top of that, is made up of officials, staff, citizens. And I plan to come up and just sit in a couple of the meetings here in the future, because I'm trying to get around to the entire district and just sit and listen, so that when I get to DC, I already have some ideas of what should go into a bill that I plan to write for its guardrails and get it pushed through with the rest of my colleagues that's on this line and everybody else. You know, I live here in Polk County. I got to give Polk County credit. Polk County has took a proactive way, and we don't have any data centers coming to Polk County. And the reason why, because Polk County has put major, I don't want to say hurdles, but they have put some things in place that if you want to build one, you got to answer a whole bunch of questions, and you got to be able to prove what you're trying to do. So I'm excited to see, or I would say to everybody in our district, and these what I'm talking about are slides. I would encourage other districts or other counties kind of look at what Polk County has done as a proactive way, but at the same time, you can look at what other counties are doing if you're moving down the path of having a data center. And then very quickly, Paulding County. Paulding County is the county that made me aware of the data center issue. It is the place that actually said, hey, Sean, if you can come, please come. Where do you stand on data centers? And I said, well, I need to come and figure out exactly what you're talking about. And that's where I met that bipartisan group, and they've been fighting hard every day, and they continue to fight, and I continue to support them 100%. And the great thing is they now have a moratorium in place that goes through January. Now, that's because of all the hard work that everybody's been doing in Paulding. And when I say that, that's the data center, no data center group. So big shout out to y'all guys if you own. But I look forward to coming back to Paulding County and working with you real soon. And then as I close out, let me turn this phone back on so I can see it again. But as I close out, I'm going to be doing some town halls. And those town halls, I'm not going to give you all the dates, but I want to make sure that I give a little shout out here. Boy, I've been doing a lot when I look on this thing. All right, there. I got a couple of town halls that are going to be coming, and I invite everybody, please. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, come out, because I want to be able to have a conversation or answer questions about data centers. The next one's going to be in Floyd County. Then I turn back around and go to Paulding County, and on and on and on. But at the end of the day, I will be in every county before the election actually happens. And I want us to be prepared. I want us to have the conversation on data centers, and you give me additional updates so that I'm prepared to get to DC and support you. So that's kind of like the roundup of what's happening in the 14th. I'm happy to say that a lot of things are happening, which is great. But now we're back to, now it's time to answer your questions. Do we have any questions out there, Shelly? At this point, we don't have any questions. That means that we're doing our job, because right now, 400 and some people are actually watching us. So I'm assuming that everybody's saying that they're just pleased to see that we are informed and we are prepared to continue to fight for them. I will tell you, this particular show, and I'll let others talk on this, but this particular show, originally, we had framed this show because we wanted to hear from the people that supported data centers. It's hard to do a show if nobody who says they support data centers wanted to chime in or say anything. So you have to come back and say, okay, this is where we at, and kind of what we're doing. So if y'all guys can do me a favor, because right now it's roughly about 400 some people in the chat, can you just take the time and put in the chat where you from? Are you from Georgia? If you're from Georgia, what county, or all those kind of things. But if you're not from Georgia, just tell us what state you're from so that we have a pretty good idea of who's watching us. And Mara, do you want to say anything?
Wow. I mean, this has been, data centers has been like the #1 focus for this whole campaign. You know, we still got all those other issues out there, but because there's so many, and it's affecting it, because I've got such a big rural area, and it's affecting all those people, their way of life. And like you had said, it is extremely nonpartisan. You know, what do you do when you want to sell your land and you're going to end up selling it for more money that you could ever think of? But then the data center is making such a deal because they're buying that land dirt cheap. So that is a big thing that people are discussing. It's like, I can't make you not sell your land, but at the same time, if you sell your land, look what you're going to do to the rest of the community. So I get to hear and see a lot of those type of conversations.
Yes. Chris?
Yeah, and you know, when I'm at the town halls, and I've been doing a lot of them. I think I'm about to do my 10th one coming up, which is pretty cool. You know, we talk about, you know, I believe AI is going to be part of the future, right? I think it's kind of, you look at it the way that we looked at the computers back in the day. You know, we knew that was coming, and I was part of, you know, I remember in the 3rd grade when I got one of the very first computers in my class. We got like 10 of them. And I was one of the top in the class, so I was able to teach the kids how to put the little floppy drive into the computer and dive dysentery during the Oregon Trail, right? And we knew that was coming, and we prepared for it. You know, we also had keyboard class, you know, in middle school. We were preparing our students for the future of computers. I think we can look into AI and doing the same. And here's the thing, while I think AI is the future, that doesn't mean that data centers is necessarily part of that. And I think that's where some of the confusion gets in, is that they get lumped together. And I guess a way of protesting data centers is, you know, not using AI, but data centers is its own thing. And one of the problems that we're having with the data centers is what happens when that technology becomes obsolete? What happens when they have better storage and, you know, better compressing applications, to where It's like the computer in that big, huge room that now fits in your pocket. What do we do with those things there? So when I'm talking about it, I kind of like to split those things out. That AI is its own little issue that we're going to have to regulate as well. We're going to have to need some regulations on that. But what we're really focused on is the data centers and the necessity for those. Do we need them to pop up everywhere through Georgia? And at this point, there's a shortage on chips. And I just did a podcast with Claude Gatabuke. Sorry, he's from Rwanda. We talked about what's going on in Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, and Venezuela and Greenland, where we're fighting over minerals. We're not fighting over oil anymore. We're fighting over minerals because they're going to use those to build the chips that go into these data centers. So right now we're trying to rush these data centers. We don't really even have the technology to make them run. And as we know, we don't even really have the utility capacity to support these data centers. So these are the things we're talking about when we go to these town halls and these meet and greets. This is what people are worried about. This is what people are upset about. And that doesn't even touch the health risk and the environmental issues that are coming along with these data centers.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sean. What I just wanted to say is when I go and I talk to the various developers and I ask the same question, who are the renters? Who are the occupants? And they say they don't have any yet. So a lot of the buildings that are going up is all speculative with the hopes that if they build it, they will come.
Yeah.
100%. Before I even get into that, let me just take a moment to tell everybody who actually told us where they actually from. Thank you. Please continue to do that. That really helps us out, that we kind of have an idea of who we talking to. But I also would ask you to like and share this program that we're doing, so it gets out to more and more people. And then when it's actually done tonight, it'll actually go over to YouTube. And after you get over there, please share it, because we want to make sure that we get the word out, because this issue's not going away. Like Chris mentioned, the flock cameras, you name it, all kind of stuff feeds back into this particular issue. And like Mara was just saying, right now people or business people saying they want to build these facilities, but they hoping and praying that somebody's going to come and occupy the facility. And if they do come and occupy the facility, shouldn't the community know who's going to be the company that's there? Is it Google? Is it somebody else? And what are they doing? Whatever. I think that's just plain and simple. The other thing I just want to talk about just a little bit is I know it's small towns here in Georgia that have lost major economic businesses that pretty much kept the whole town up and going. And those towns have been put in a situation that when the data centers came, they had to look and say, oh, this is the best deal that we can get, because we don't actually have our economic base anymore to help pay the taxes and keep our schools going and everything else. So I want to also say to those very small towns, those very small rural communities that have lost paper mills or whatever else that you lost, that was the main source of income. Nobody's judging you. I hope that the data centers that you got coming to your area are going to pay off like they said they were going to pay off, because the last thing I want for any of our towns, specifically talking here in the rural community, our small towns, is that all of a sudden the economic thing that runs your town or keep your town afloat goes out of business because of these tariffs and everything else that we got going on. Then all of a sudden you've got a choice: either take the damn data center or shut up shop. So that is what we're talking about tonight, is not that situation. We're talking about places like Hiram and Dallas and other metropolitan areas that got a lot of different things going on. Slow down, get it figured out. But I did want to say publicly, because I do know some counties in our state that was put in that situation. And even though I would have said pause, I want to publicly say I support your decision, because guess what? You still got to have some money coming in here in December, because whatever that paper mill or whatever it was went out of business, and no more checks are coming to the bank. So if the data center is going to keep yourself afloat, just make sure you read all the small print, check make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But you have to still make what's the best decision for your local people there. So I just want to put that on the table. Now, Chris, I see.
Hey, Sean, real quick, to touch on what you just said, that kind of goes along with what you're going to be talking about tomorrow with the beef. One of the things that I'm concerned about is, if they're putting these farmers out of business, they're going to be looking to do something with their land, right? Or somebody's going to swoop in and buy it for real cheap and then just throw some data centers on there. They kind of, all of this stuff just goes together, and you can see it all going together.
Yeah, it's unbelievable pressure right now in the rural community. And when I say the rural community, I'm talking about all of us for the most part. Northern Georgia is the rural community. Okay,
that's right.
But I'm talking about when you get way out, and you got the Dollar General, you might have your Walmart, and you might have a Kroger, and that's it. And
the Walmart,
well, yeah. And you're gonna have 5 Dollar Generals, because they build one every 2 or 3 miles down the road. So, but with all that being said, I want to make sure that we also have those communities in place, because many times those communities are the most vulnerable, because if a farmer or landowner's losing it, now somebody can swoop in and buy the whole thing, and the next thing you know, because it was a transaction between individuals, the next thing you know, you're saying, well, how could we have a data center? Well, Sean Harris, the farmer, sold his 200-acre farm and took $2, $3, $4, $5 million and said, okay, Donald Trump ran me out of the cattle business, but I'm going to still look out for my family, so I'm going to take the money. And now they got a perfect piece of property that has water, that has access, that has everything that you actually looking for a data center ready to go. So that's something that I would pass on to all of us, even though we're in our cities. If some of you that live in your different cities, also be thinking about what is happening in your rural community, because that may actually be the play is right now to go in the rural part of your community and set up a data center and sneak that in with nobody actually paying attention. Is it any questions? I can't tell if questions are coming in. Are there any questions? I'm looking over here. I see a whole bunch of people telling us thank you and they love us, which is awesome.
We love y'all too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what is, Shelly? Is this something that shows where the data centers at? I see something there. What is that thing?
Oh, that is mine.
Oh,
hey.
I love it.
So this is my congressional district, and I started putting the little
wait, Mara. Please tell the people. You know, I'm just a retired general. And the key reason is retired general means that I'm general on everything. You the smart person. Come on, tell us what all these little blue sticky things are.
So the blue stickies, that tells me, you know, my voting population and whatever, but it's those blue pins that I started putting where those data centers, that they're either here projected or are being built. And you'll see, I mean, and there's some, I'm about 10 short that I still have to put out there. But you get to see a pattern in some of these areas. And again, it's in those rural areas where the farmland is cheap. Nothing else is coming in, just what you were talking about. You know, we lost a lot of mills, but nobody has brought any type of infrastructure or jobs into the communities. So, you know, you got one side of the aisle saying, well, this will breathe life because of people building. Well, the issue is what we know, at least I can only talk from my area. I'm looking at these buses that are, because I have QTS in my area, and that's going to be what, a 15, 16 data center campus. And so I checked out these buses that are shipping people in and into the site. They aren't union workers or anything like that. These are companies that are looking for people that want to do plumbing, that want to do excavation, that want to do all these jobs. And the thing is, we can't even guarantee that they're all from Georgia. So, you know, if you're going to build here, use our people. That should be one of the requirements, is that you use the people from Georgia. And whenever possible, these should be union jobs, and they aren't. So that's a big thing. But yeah, this is my 15 counties, and this is where my data centers are being projected.
Well, now I got a question. Where do you get that map?
I will talk to you off.
Let's do that.
I will let you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well, I that's awesome, and I think I'm not going to go to that type detail in it, but I think by you plotting where the data centers are, that would be powerful when you at a town hall or doing something that people can actually see that, hey, I know you so laser focused about your county, but if you notice, this is your county, but right next door, the data center people have figured out they putting 2 in your place, but right across the line that you don't care about, they got another 10. So for all practical purposes, they have basically bought up all the land right in between 2 counties because they're saying the leadership is not going to talk to each other, or the city government will not talk to the county commissioners.
And what you just said,
and we can work on those gaps and get what we want.
You know, when it came to water on some of these, we had deals because a lot of them are not getting their water from their own county. They're going to other counties to get agreements to get that water. And in one of them, they had talked to the county, they had talked to the town to get the approval, but they didn't talk to the county. And the county says, wait a minute, that water's got to go through us. We have to approve it. So they started building a data center that did not have a water agreement. So what you just said, when you look at it from the top view, you get to see the bigger picture and how everything's connecting the dots. And it can be at your expense.
Yeah.
You know, and I talked about this a while back, but I'm still worried about, you know, the Road to Housing Act. I'm excited about it because it's, you know, it's a bipartisan bill that's going to address the housing issue. But part of that bill is about cutting through the red tape. And I'm worried that they're going to use, you know, some of that to get around some of the zoning laws, you know, specifically for data centers. Because you know how, you know, good intentions always, you know, they get corrupted.
Yeah, you know, currently it's so many things that are going on that if you sometimes have to sit back and take it all in and try to get it figured out, because currently right now we got the war going on, we got tariffs everywhere, we got data centers beating us up, we got we now are in a vicious I guess you could call it some level of conflict with Canada. And so when you start talking about all the things that's supposed to be making us better so people can buy a house or build a house. Now the economy's got so bad that we're starting to have to play with 10 and 15 and 20 and 30-year mortgages. Hence, it's going to cost you a lot of money to try to get a low interest rate. But on top of that, we just did here less than 3 days ago, the president went at Canada. And I just need everybody to understand, because you may not understand this, is that as farmers, you try to diversify your farm. So that means you got cattle, you might have some chickens, you might have some row crops, that's corn, cotton, whatever. But then you also got trees, forestry. And the forestry that we have here in the great state of Georgia. So as you driving all through our state and you see the pine trees, those pine trees are mainly making paper and cardboard and all that type stuff. The trees that actually build your house comes from Canada. So I want to make sure that everybody understands. I know we talk about data centers and all those kind of things, but I just want to make sure that you clearly understand that based on what we're doing today, if you had cut a deal on your house and say, yep, my house is supposed to cost me X amount of $1,000 to build, but that wood haven't been delivered yet, if it's still over there in Canada, it may now make a lot different on you won't be getting a brand new kitchen. Somebody going to have to make some decisions to say, in order to make this thing work, we can't have that kitchen, or we gotta give up one bedroom. We got to do something. So I just kind of put that out there, that in this fight of data centers, we also got to make sure that we keeping our eyes open, because people are being hit so many different ways that it's our job as candidates to be able to fight through all those things and make sure that when people go to the polls, whatever your issue is, it is important. And that's why when we get to DC, that's why we have staff so they help us be able to focus on all these things. Because when we get there, it's going to be a lot of long nights and a lot of work, because right now things are all jacked up. So I just kind of put that out there. The other thing I just want to say is please, 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 please take your phone, scan that QR code. If you can donate some money to us, that'll be awesome. Right now, we got about 700 people watching us. Again, put in the chat where you're from. If you're from the great state of Georgia, tell us what county, or you can tell us what town, whatever you want to do. And if you're not from the great state of Georgia, tell us what state you're from. And you know, a couple of times we've been doing this. Americans, I want to make sure everybody understand that Americans that live overseas have chimed in. So if you are American, like I used to be, that lived overseas, and you're actually sitting somewhere and it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or it's 3 o'clock in the morning, put it in the chat and say, hey, I'm paying attention because my mom or my grandmama lives in your district, and I want to make sure what's going on. I look, we got a question there. Anybody want to touch that question, or what we got going? What questions about data centers have not answered yet? I tell you the truth, I think every question out there has been answered. We in partners with the no data center community, no matter where they're at in the state, I think we need to continue to go to the meetings and continue to fight. But I also think we need to be organizing and making sure that people are going to come out and vote their interests and vote for the people that's going to fight for them as soon as these moratoriums that I talked about earlier, if those things, after all of those things seem like they're going to come due after the election. And yeah, I guarantee you, if you mess around and let some of these folks still stand there after the election, they're going to tell you, shut up. That's what they're going to say, something a little bit stronger. But I will say we need to make sure that we organize, that we get people in DC, we get people at the Dome, but we also get people at the local level, at the city council and the county commissioners, to make sure that when these moratoriums stop or expire, you got somebody's going to listen to you and have your interest that's sitting on those particular boards.
You know, as far as for questions not answered, it'd be nice to have somebody on here that was a little more pro data center to kind of fill us in on what the other side's really thinking, because I know a lot of us are kind of really against data centers, but you know, there's got to be some positives out there that somebody could, you know, come on and be willing to share with us. And I promise we'd be nice to you.
Yeah.
We're willing to listen. We want to listen to all sides, you know. So
you know what's interesting? What's interesting is some of the meetings that I've been at, a person would usually say, how many people here are for the data center? And there's not one person. The only people that if they did say, it's the developer, it's the person that sold the land, okay, or a person that somehow has a connection to what's being built. So
I'll talk to them too. I'll talk to them too.
I chuckle because I remember the night that Marjorie Taylor Greene and I were in Murray County, and I don't forgot the issue was it was some kind of facility that they were talking about putting there in Murray County. The entire community hated it. Everybody was fighting against it. Marjorie and I both agreed that this is not the right thing, the whole 9 yards. And then they asked, and let me be clear, I knew just a few people in Murray County, but when they said, is it anybody that supports this thing? This one guy that was almost sitting beside me in the stands got up, walked to the mic, and actually went up there and started talking about it. And I was like, wow, this is going to be good. And then the lady sitting beside me leaned over. She was probably about 70 plus years old. She said, there's no need to listen to him. I said, why? She said, because he's the guy who sold the land to him. he already got the check. So, you know, so again, if the people that are saying they support it, great. I want to hear from them. We want to hear from them. But if you're the guy or the gal who actually said, look, I'm going to take your $20 million, then I'm not 100% sure you got a position anymore. You took the money. Okay, great. Whatnot. So guys, we've been on now for 52 minutes. We got roughly 700 people watching us right now live. So I want to say thank you to all of those people that are watching us. We still got some additional time. And I see over here in the chat on this side, it says, it says concerns about impact to the community. And I think we've been talking about those concerns all night tonight. The team just put it up there. Do any of y'all guys want to chime in on that particular comment?
Well, you know, one of the things that people keep talking about is, in the end, what is besides the environmental impact, what is the health impact? And my comment about this is to protect yourself. You're going to have to make sure, and again, if we're talking about our rural areas, a lot of the places are on well water. You're going to have to take the time and the money to go ahead and get your well water tested. Then from a healthcare standpoint, you're going to have to go make sure you get a full head to toe body exam, body health, to make sure we have a starting point in case something goes sideways somewhere down the road. If you're trying to tie, you know, all of a sudden your community, everybody's suffering from something, you've got to be able to tie it to the data center. And right now, with people having lost their health care, that might be a little difficult. The other thing is to understand is these companies or corporations will litigate this all day long, and as long as they need to take it. And you, in the meantime, are still suffering from a health condition. And what comes to mind, and Sean, you'll understand this, remember how long our Vietnam vets suffered and that our government was saying that their problems and issues were not caused by that war, caused by the deployment. We're talking 10, 20, 30, and so on years.
Yeah.
And then what happened with our service members, you know, in Iraq, in the burn pits, and the length of time it took for us to be able to prove there was a causation. We're going to have to do the same exact thing, and it's going to take 10 and 20 or some odd years to be able to prove there were health impacts.
Yeah.
So that's a big concern that I have, and I'm listening to the folks, and you know, so that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, you know, as we get closer to 7, because I want to respect everybody's time, because the kids are back in school, people are doing the sports, all those kind of things. But we did want to jump on and listen to the people. The story that I was just talking about was the bio waste facility. I was so glad that we got that stopped, or the people up there got that stopped in Murray County. What I'm going to do, team, now, I'm going to give everybody a minute or so to kind of like do a little closeout. I know you just finished talking, Mara, but I'm going to come back to you, then Chris, and then we'll come back around to me, and then I'll close it out. But I also want to let everybody know, because my team just wrote me a little note that says over 1,700 people are actually watching us live tonight. So give yourself a clap there. Outstanding. I don't know where all those people are, but thank you. That says that people are interested in this particular subject. So I thank every last one of you out there. And as we're closing out, keep putting in the chat where you're from and all those kind of things. So Mara, close us out.
So I just want people to know, you know, who I am. As I say, I'm a retired Army veteran. You know, and if I had to leave you with anything, you know, my Vietnam vets were the ones that mentored me. And they gave me 2 bits of information. Number one, never forget where you came from, whether it be, you know, the way you were brought up, to anything and everything you've done. And the second thing is always remember decisions you make and don't make are going to affect that soldier in the field. And that has been my North Star in everything that I do. So when I take that bits of information, that is how I look at my district when I go ahead and represent you, because decisions I make or don't make are going to affect the people back in the district. So I want them to know, each and every one of them, have a seat at the table. I will be listening to each and every one, because I want to make sure we take care of everyone. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Chris, you got the floor, my friend.
Yeah, and I'll go with that. It's going to be the, you know, sitting on the couch and thinking that nothing that we do matters that hurts us in November. You know, everything we do matters. And here's what I'll say. They're trying to take away our right to vote, which means it still matters. And I always thought that Elon Musk had a button and he could just push and change the numbers. But the fact they're fighting so hard to restrict our right to vote means that it still matters. So we need you guys to show up in November. And I'll just give you a few things. If you want to come out and meet me and talk to me, we've got a couple of things that are coming up. I'm doing a meet and greet with Rasmus Jensen. He's the HD 5 candidate up there in Gordon County. We're doing a meet and greet Saturday at 12 o'clock. You can sign up and register on my website at electharden.com. And then the next town hall we're coming to, it's September 12th. It's a Saturday at 1 o'clock at Stratton Library in Marietta. Come out, let's talk. You know, even if you might disagree with me, just come give me a chance and listen to me. And I'm going to listen to you guys like I have been this entire time.
All right. Well, hey, thanks. And it's back to me. Again, as I close out, I want to tell everybody thank you that took the time to listen to us. Please, even when we go off, if you can put your phone up to that QR code and help out all our campaigns, I would tell you, we're all hurting. I'm not going to lie to you. We're all hurting. And in order for us to have those commercials and have those flyers and all the things that you need to put on doors and get information out, it takes money. So I'm asking you for $5, $10, $15, whatever you can spare. That'll be very helpful. So we thank you in advance. Now, Sean, the candidate, or Sean, the individual that lives here in Polk County and lives here in the 14th. When I got out the military, only thing my wife and I talked about that we wanted to come back to my home state, not her home state, but we wanted to come back to Georgia. Her thing was she wanted to live up in the mountains. Many of y'all guys know I'm from Southwest Georgia, so it's flatland down there. But she wanted to come up to the mountains, and we had no clue when we bought this farm that Marjorie Taylor Greene was my doggone representative. Okay, that's plain and clear. If somebody would have told us that Marjorie Taylor Greene was our representative, I would have told that lady, time out. We're going to take our money a little bit further down the road, whatnot. So we bought a place here. And one of the things that we talked about when I was getting out of the military, going through my retirement piece, they actually had a leader come in, a 4-star general came in, and he had already been retired. And he said the worst thing that you could do is get home on your farm or wherever you living and think that because you were a general officer, you're special. He actually said, when you get home, take all your leadership and get involved in the community. Regardless of what getting involved in the community is, make sure that you actually bring some excitement, bring some to the community, because the American people have paid all this money to get you to be a general officer and put you through all the training. And I personally said, when I got home and got back from Israel and came here to Rockmart, Georgia, where I was going to live, that I was going to be involved in the community. And when I say involved in the community, I was not thinking about running for no Congress. I was just going to be a guy that went to the Rotary Club, and if they said we need to pick up paper, I'm picking up paper. Because if you really know me, you know I'm just really a humble guy, and kind of go from there. But what I'm trying to get to is this. Every last one of us across the board has made the decision that we still want to serve you. But by saying we still want to serve you, in order for us to serve you, we need you, your friends, your family, everybody to come out and show up in great numbers come November, because I am convinced that when you go vote in November, it's going to be some stressors out there. But you're going to fight through that and make sure that you go vote for your voice going to be heard. And because at the end of the day, we cannot win any of our elections by a little bit. Because if we try to win it by a little bit, we're going to end up in court all day. We got to win every last one of these elections by a landslide across the board. So there's no doubt when games are being played that they'll say that any of us across the board did not win our election. And I just look forward to seeing everybody out there on the campaign trail. If you go to my campaign page, that's SeanForGeorgia.com, you'll see where I'm going to be in the next few days. And from that, thank you guys for putting that up. As you can see, we are putting in the work. This don't show all the times I'm going to show up at a data center meeting. These are just showing all the times that I'm actually going to be out there standing on the deck and talking to you. And the other thing I always want to say about my town halls, when you come to the town halls, we're trying to work it out where we will have every local candidate will get a chance to talk directly to you, because I think it's important, because the local candidate is the person that touches you. But then also, if we can work it out, I plan to have 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6 statewide candidates that come, because in my district, can't speak on other people's district, in my district, I think most people know who I am. They know where I stand, and they know I want to work for. What we just got to do now is just get everybody out at the same time and go vote for me so that we can flip this district. And so I just think of that in advance. The time now is Shelly moved the thing. I can't see the time. Okay, now I see the time. It was hidden in the red. It is now 8:04. One of the things that I love about my experience in the military, we start on time and we finish on time. And based on time, we're 4 minutes over. So I want to tell everybody across the board, for all of my friends that are here, that you see on the screen. But I also want to say thank you to all the people that's behind the curtain that's making this thing work. Every once in a while, you hear me say Shelly, you hear me say Renee, you hear me say all these other names. I want to thank them because they having to take time from their families also to make these things work. But the reason why we do it is because we want to give you a serious choice to have the right person to vote for, regardless you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican. So you have somebody that's going to stand up for you, your kids, and your grandkids. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for your time. Here in a few weeks, we'll be coming back with another episode, and we look forward to receiving your questions. And if you want to send questions to us over this next period in advance, we'll start off with those questions in advance. But again, go out there, knock on doors, put in the time. Let's put in the sweat equity. We got 69 more days until Election Day, and I'm excited that everybody from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket is going to win. So with that, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.